There's actually a John Mayer interview, which I'll link in the comments below, where he says he was using the MPC for his studio session work as his guitar sound. So he was running his guitar through MPC plugins and plugging that straight into the desk for recording sessions. And he said the reason was the tone was great and it was good enough, and what would happen is if he was using one of his vintage amplifiers, the engineer would end up carving the sound out to get back to this point anyway. So in that regards, it's pretty amazing for a tone meister like John Mayer to be using an MPC for his main guitar tone. When engineers started to think about the studio as an instrument, like in the Caribbean, back in the dub producing days, I wonder if they ever thought it would get to this point, because literally this is a studio in an instrument layout. Hi, my name's Hugh and welcome back to my home studio. Today we're taking a look at AKAI's MPC X. The MPC has been absolutely genre defining, and as far as workflow and process, the 16-pad format has really come into an instrument as itself. Whether it be from live finger drumming right through to step sequencing, or sending signal out to external synthesizers, or performing with it live as a really stable playback device, the MPC just has so many uses. And there's even more uses now. I've always been a really avid DAW user. Ableton Live was my go-to, and then I started using the MPC and I absolutely fell in love with it, and I know exactly why people are using it. Some reason it just makes sounds really fat. I think it's got something to do with the DAC, the digital audio converter in this unit, but drums just seem to get super fat. And there's something to be said for the MPC swing as well. It's absolutely definitive in just getting that movement in those laid back beats, or even those pumping house beats as well. A feature that really stood out to me on these new MPCs is the plugins they come loaded with. They're absolutely amazing. I mean, you could use the MPC as your synth engine. So you could take out like an MPC Live, a smaller one, something like that, to your gig, and run a MIDI controller into that and use the MPC as your synth engine. The sounds are so good and they are so fat. That's also not to mention the processing plugins. There's lots of really amazing saturation and distortion and delays and reverbs and other unique effects that are unique to the MPC. And I just found that really incredible. The thing about the MPC X versus the MPC Live or other MPC controllers is it's a standalone studio. It's absolutely incredible. A standalone production unit and a great sounding production unit. With a bit of time on the MPC, you can get really fast on this machine, turning over beats and tracks and grooves and songs and samples just in matters of minutes. It is so fast, and the MPC X layout really lends to that. Once you get familiar with this layout, you'll find that there is very little menu diving needed. It's all at the press of a button. This panel here reconfigures for every section that you open up on the MPC. So if you open a plugin like a compressor, all these dials then reconfigure to that. So it's like having a studio interface that reconfigures to what you're doing at the time. So convenient and so fast to work on. The MPC pads feel absolutely fantastic and super responsive, and the 16-pad format is like its own musical instrument now as well. We're seeing lots of other companies and lots of other samplers, they just adopt it as a default. That's really interesting to me as far as instrument design goes. Another interesting part about the MPC X is this configurable patch of dials on the side here. If I was to open up a compressor plugin, for example, all of these dials would then throw to the compressor plugin, and then it becomes really intuitive just to start dialing up your attack and release. And then maybe if you open up a synth plugin after that, again, the dials just map straight out to that. So what you've got is a reconfigurable studio interface. I love this little rest patch down the front for those really long sessions. That's a really nice touch. Subtle. Ergonomic too. So not only do you have your usual phono and the left and right inputs on the MPC for sampling from vinyl or your phone or something like that, another plug-in sound source, but you've also got two mic pre's on here as well. So maybe you could be recording a battle or a jam or a duet or something way more live and way more intuitive. Or you could do a two mic configuration of an instrument like a guitar or a piano or a drum kit, something like that. this MPC X comes loaded with 2 mic pre's. The connectivity on the MPC X is ridiculous also. Not only does it have the audio's ins and outs that you need right from phono through to mic pre's, it also has 5-pin MIDI in, out and through, and it also has 8 CV gates. So if you're leaning more towards that electronic house kind of vibe and you're using external synthesizers, the connectivity on this unit is absolutely amazing. It's also got 2 USB ports for running external controllers, so you can plug a keyboard into it to play the built-in plug-in synths, which are absolutely amazing. And they've just done an update with heaps of great new synths, like the Selena, which is a really amazing string synth, or the Mellotron as well, the ARP Odyssey. Again, I'm just blown away by the plugins in this device, and that's something that stood out. Most people would see this machine as like a sampler and maybe a sequencer, but I think it's way more than that. It really is a production unit, and that's what it's named after. MPC stands for Music Production Center, and the MPC X is the absolute flagship for this line. If you're loving these videos, don't forget to click like and subscribe down below, and then head straight over to the Muso's Corner YouTube channel, where there's heaps more videos of like product overviews and performances for your entertainment. There's also this really nice SD card slot on the front, so you can rock up to your friend's studio with an SD card and just slot in your sounds and your samples, or maybe you're exchanging MPC sessions as well. There's headphone jacks on the front, as well as an instrument cable on the front as well, so really easy just to plug in a guitar and go. Another amazing thing about this unit is that it's wireless, so you can start pulling sounds from the cloud and sending sounds around. You can also use Ableton Link to sync with other projects and other devices and other computers and other MPCs. There's also a function on the MPC for you to use it as an Ableton Live controller. It's really incredible, so you can launch clips and do volumes on tracks up and down, all on the touch screen. The touchscreen is super sensitive as well. So if I go to this XY pad and I'm going to load up an effect, and I just found it really simple to just move around. It's really sensitive, it's really intuitive. You don't have to bash the screen like on some earlier touch screens. I just find a really light touch will get you like a really long way. As far as the user interface goes, everything's on the surface as well, but then you can just use the screen also, or you can use a combination of both. There's really lots of options for users to start developing their own ways of using an MPC. As far as creativity goes, that's really beautiful, because you start to get these different work approaches and different workflows and different ideas, and then users will start producing different material on these music production centers. Look, it's just insane what you can do with this machine, and it's absolutely insane the list of features that it has, and the list of features that it keeps gaining as well, because there's heaps of plugins and expansions that you can just keep growing this device with. If you want any more information on the MPC, head over to the Muso's Corner website. That's www.musoscorner.com.au, or just go into the store and check it out for yourself. I hope you've enjoyed this look at the MPC X by AKAI. I'm Hugh Jones, and like always, happy music making. Muso's Corner.